Hello, I'm Michele, and in April 2023, I was diagnosed with a stage 4 glioblastoma, also known as a GBM. That was the day that my world changed forever. I'd like to share my journey with you. Not everyone's journey is the same, but I hope that in me telling my story, you might find some comfort, some hope, and some reassurance that the feelings that you're going through are all normal, and find some ways to help you cope and manage with your diagnosis and your loved ones who are sharing this journey with you. My journey started on the 14th of April on a Friday night, coming home from work. I had a bit of a strange sensation on the left side of my head. It was like a spider crawling through my ear and a bit of a ringing in my ear, which is not a feeling that I've ever had before. And I got home from work that night, had dinner with the kids. Didn't seem to go away, so I rang my cousin who's a nurse, and I jokingly said to her, I think I've got a brain tumour. She said, you don't have a brain tumour. I said, well, maybe I'm having a stroke then. She said, you're not having a stroke either. I took a couple of Panadol and I went to bed. Woke up the next morning and all my girlfriends were coming over. We were having a shopping day. I was looking to buy a dress for my son's wedding. I got up and had breakfast as normal, still a bit of a ringing in my ear, but and a bit of a headache, but had breakfast with my son, drove to the shops to get some things, came home. My girlfriends arrived at 11:30 and I was still feeling fairly normal. By 11:45 we were having a coffee, and that's my last memory of that day and for a couple of days. I had a seizure later that day at about 1:30. They all told me I was quite coherent and talking. I was just wobbly on my feet. They took me off to the doctors. I have no recollection of going to that. I had a full-blown seizure, frothing at the mouth, lost consciousness for about 10 minutes. They called an ambulance, took me to the Alfred Hospital. And as we were arriving at the Alfred, I had a second seizure. So things just escalated from there. CT scans, MRIs. My family came up later that day. The things that I'm remembering that I'm telling you today are from what my family and friends have told me. I still, to this day, 10 months later, have no recollection or remembering of anything that happened that day, which people say is a good thing. You don't want to remember. So I had the CT scans and the MRIs. This is a Saturday. On the Sunday, a doctor came in and said, we need to do a surgery tomorrow because we've found a tumour. I was in shock, a tumour, thinking, wasn't really quite sure where this was going. They wanted to do a biopsy of my head. I think I was scared. They told me it was going to be okay. They were just cutting a little hole, going to pop a needle in there, take it out, and I'd be fine. So I went off and had the surgery on the Monday. It was actually a bigger surgery than what they expected. I had a cut from here to the top of my head. So it was a little bigger than what I initially thought. I was astounded at the sight of the scar. I didn't think it was going to look like that. But then I did understand why my head hurt so much, seeing the scar. I stayed in hospital until the Wednesday. The doctors came to see me. They said I had a tumour in my temporal lobe, and that we'd need to wait for the biopsy to come back. On the Tuesday, I had another CT scan in the morning. I do remember saying to them, when am I going to be able to go back to work? They were quite nice and said, it might be a little while before you go back. And I said, what, a couple of weeks? Because in my mind, I was going to be fine. I thought I'd had an epileptic fit. And right through until when they officially told me in May of my diagnosis, I thought they were going to tell me I had epilepsy, not a brain tumour. So I went home to my apartment, and the following day my sister came and picked me up and took me back to her place. So I didn't leave there for months. I remember being very tired. I remember sleeping a lot during the day. My eye was still quite puffy. I liked having ice packs on my head. I was still just taking Panadol at this stage and the medication for my seizures. And life was just going on. I was tired and I was sleeping. I'd still wake up with headaches, but Panadol was keeping them at bay. So I felt pretty comfortable that my results were going to be that I was an epileptic and I'd be on medication for the rest of my life.
I got the best news ever today. My doctors said to me that both of my tumours have reduced again for the second time. I almost don't have words. I'm so excited. It's the best news ever.